Have you ever considered how history, especially, ancient history, isn't just this straight line of dates and events?
Oh, absolutely. It's more like a tangled web, right?
Exactly. A rich, complex tapestry woven with these huge epic events, but also really surprising turns and these deeply personal stories.
And that's often where the real insights are hiding, kind of in plain sight.
Yeah, waiting for us to find them. And sometimes what we really need isn't just like more data, but a shortcut to understanding what's truly important.
To get the wisdom behind the facts.
Not just the what, but the why and the so what.
Well, that really gets to the heart of what we try to do here on the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into a really fascinating collection of narratives. Our sources call it Bible Stories Part 4.
And this isn't about getting bogged down in, say, dry theological arguments, is it?
Not at all. It's history. A segment packed with these pivotal moments, some truly remarkable figures, and profound lessons that have echoed through millennia. They've shaped not just one group, but, universal human experiences.
Okay, so our source material lays out this series of really intense events. We meet key leaders facing impossible odds.
Right. Crazy odds.
Dramatic battles fought with some pretty unconventional strategies, you could say.
Definitely unconventional.
And these fascinating moral dilemmas that really test people's character.
It's got everything. Intrigue, strategy, moments of divine intervention.
Yeah.
Things that are genuinely hard to explain sometimes.
So our mission today, our deep dive, is to really unpack these stories.
Yeah, pull out those key nuggets of knowledge and insight. We want to understand not just what happened, but really why it matters.
Connecting these ancient stories to timeless ideas like leadership, loyalty.
The consequences of our actions, which is a big one. And even, as we'll see, surprising acts of wisdom.
We're going to explore moments of, undeniable divine intervention, incredible human bravery.
And the long-term ripple effects of choices, how individual decisions can actually reshape the destiny of nations.
It sounds like a really captivating journey into the past.
It really is.
All right, let's unpack this. We're kicking things off with, an absolute bang. Leaders, battles, and some truly jaw-dropping divine intervention.
Yeah, early conquests, unconventional warfare. It's dramatic stuff.
First up, Joshua and the conquest of Canaan. And this is way more than just battle strategy, isn't it?
Oh, much more. So the scene opens with the Gibeonites. They live in Canaan, and they are in deep trouble.
Okay, what's happened?
5 hostile Canaanite kings have basically ganged up on them. They see Israel's power growing. They see Gibeon maybe aligning with them, and they decide to crush Gibeon.
So the Gibeonites are facing destruction.
Total destruction. They send this desperate plea to Joshua, "Come quickly, save us, all the kings are here." You can almost hear the panic in their message.
It says a lot about their fear and also about Joshua's reputation already.
Absolutely. And what does Joshua do? Does he send scouts? Deliberate.
You'd think so, right? Assess the situation.
Nope. Our sources say right away Joshua and all his fighting men go. All night long they march.
All night. That's immediate, tireless.
It's incredible commitment. An overnight forced march through who knows what terrain. The tension must have been immense.
It shows a certain kind of leadership, doesn't it?
Yep.
Decisive action, commitment to allies, no hesitation.
It really does. And when they arrive at Gibeon, the enemy soldiers are apparently already panicking, maybe caught off guard by how fast Joshua moved. They start to retreat.
Okay, so Joshua's speed worked.
It did. But then, this is where the story takes that astonishing turn, where divine intervention becomes just undeniably real.
What happened?
The sources state that Jehovah makes large hailstones fall from the sky.
Hailstones, like big ones.
Apparently massive ones. And more soldiers die from being hit by the hailstones than are killed by Joshua's fighting men.
Wait, seriously? More killed by hail than by the actual army?
That's what the text says. It's not just a little help. It's this overwhelming, catastrophic force from the heavens fighting for Israel.
That's mind-blowing. Imagine seeing that, the psychological impact alone.
Exactly. And if that wasn't enough, Joshua does something even more audacious. He sees the sun is setting, darkness is coming. If night falls, the enemy escapes, the victory isn't complete.
Right. You need daylight to finish the pursuit.
So the text says, Joshua prays to Jehovah and then says, "Sun, stand still."
He tells the sun to stop.
He does. And when the sun keeps shining, the Israelites are able to finish winning the fight. The day is literally prolonged.
Okay, that's extraordinary. It defies, everything we know about natural law.
It does. But the purpose seems entirely practical within the narrative. Finish the job, ensure a decisive victory. It underscores the importance of completing the mission, especially in the context of conquering the land.
It's not just about showing power. It's about fulfilling the objective.
Precisely. It's like the very fabric of time bends to allow the victory to be total.
You mentioned the psychological impact. Imagine being Joshua's soldier. Hail crushing your enemies, the sun stopping,
You'd feel unstoppable, certain of divine backing.
and the enemy. Seeing that, absolute terror, shattering morale.
It must have been completely demoralizing. What does it mean for a leader, for an army, to see that kind of direct, visible help? It changes everything.
But here's an interesting point you raised. This amazing, miraculous victory wasn't the end of the story, was it?
No, and that's crucial. The sources are clear. There are many more bad kings in Canaan who hate God's people. It took Joshua and his army about 6 years to defeat 31 kings in total.
6 years.
Mm.
So the miracle was the start, maybe the momentum shift, but not the whole war?
Exactly. It provided this incredible advantage, set the stage, but the hard slog of conquest still needed human effort, strategy, perseverance.
It's a reminder that even with divine help, there's often still a long, hard road.
Yeah, no magic wand for the entire campaign.
So what can we take from this today? Leadership against overwhelming odds. It's about decisiveness, faith, yes, but also sheer grit.
Perseverance even after the miracle. It challenges us, doesn't it? Do we have the resolve for the long haul even when things start spectacularly?
That's a good question. Okay, let's shift gears. From Joshua's large-scale conquest to a very different kind of battle.
Gideon and the Midianites. This one really highlights the power of the few and unconventional tactics.
What's the situation here?
The Israelites are in trouble again, being oppressed by the Midianites. The sources say it's because they'd strayed from Jehovah again, so they cry out for help.
And Jehovah responds, tells Gideon to raise an army.
Right. Gideon initially gathers, get this, 32,000 fighting men.
Okay, 32,000. How big was the Midianite army?
The sources say 135,000 soldiers.
Woo! Okay, so 32,000 against 135,000. Still terrible odds.
Exactly. You'd think you need every man you can get, but then Jehovah does something completely unexpected. He tells Gideon, you have too many men.
Too many. Why?
Jehovah explicitly says he doesn't want Israel thinking they won by their own strength. If they had a huge army, they might boast, right? Forget who really gave the victory.
Ah, okay. So it's about making the divine intervention undeniable.
Precisely. So, stage 1 of reduction. Gideon is told, tell all the men who are afraid to go back home.
How many leave?
A staggering 22,000 men. They just turn around and leave.
Wow. So that leaves only 10,000.
10,000. Imagine being one of those 10,000, watching 2/3 of your army walk away, knowing you're facing 135,000.
That takes some serious courage, or maybe faith, to stay.
Definitely. But wait, it gets even stranger.
There's more.
Jehovah still says, you still have too many men.
10,000 is still too many. What now?
Now comes the famous water test. Gideon takes the 10,000 down to the water, and the instruction is very specific.
How does it work?
Only the men who lap water from their hands like a dog, staying watchful, are chosen. The ones who kneel down, maybe put their face in the water, get comfortable, they're sent home.
And how many pass this test?
Only 300 men.
300. From 32,000 down to 300 against 135,000. That sounds like suicide.
Militarily absolutely insane. But that test, lapping like a dog, what does it suggest?
Maybe. Alertness. Vigilance. Like they're still ready, even while drinking.
That's the common interpretation. They stay aware, ready for action, unlike those who relax their guard. It's a test of character, or maybe discipline, constant readiness. These are the elite, the most focused.
So you have these 300 hyper-alert guys. What's the plan? They can't just charge, can they?
No, the plan is pure psychological warfare. Each man gets a horn, a torch, and an empty jar to hide the torch in.
Okay. Unconventional weapons.
They divide into 3 groups, surround the Midianite camp in the middle of the night. Then, all at once,
What do?
they all blow their horns, smash the jars, revealing the torches, and shout together, Jehovah's sword and Gideon's.
Imagine that. Pitch black, then suddenly 300 horns blasting, 300 torches flaring up, this terrifying shout from all directions.
Exactly. Total chaos and confusion for the sleeping Midianites. The sources say they are confused and afraid. They all begin to run.
They probably thought they were surrounded by a massive army.
Precisely. And in the chaos, they apparently start fighting each other. The Israelites win without a conventional battle.
Wow, that's incredible. The power of conviction, unconventional tactics.
And divine backing, according to the narrative. It wasn't about numbers. It was about strategy, surprise, and belief. Breaking the jars, the horns, the lights, the shout, it created overwhelming panic.
It really challenges our assumptions about winning, doesn't it? It's not always about having the most stuff.
No. Sometimes it's about cleverness, conviction, maybe leveraging psychology, making the most of what you have, even if it seems like very little.
A powerful lesson about looking beyond the obvious solutions. Okay, let's transition now from the noise of battle.
To something much quieter, but incredibly powerful in its own way.
The story of Ruth. This one is about loyalty, love, and lineage.
A deeply personal and moving story. It starts with Naomi, an Israelite woman living in Moab with her 2 Moabite daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth.
But there's tragedy here.
Yes, Naomi has lost her husband and both her sons, who were Orpah and Ruth's husbands. So these 3 women are widows facing hardship together.
A difficult situation.
Naomi decides to return to her homeland, Israel. And she tells Orpah and Ruth, understandably, to go back to their own families in Moab.
It's a poignant scene. Grief, uncertainty. Naomi kisses them goodbye. They're all weeping.
Clearly a strong bond there. Orpah, after that emotional farewell, does decide to go back. It's the logical, practical thing to do.
Go back to her people, her culture, her gods. Makes sense.
But Ruth refuses. Naomi says, look, Orpah left, you go too.
And Ruth's reply is legendary.
It really is. She says, don't try to make me leave you. Let me go with you. Where you go, I will go. And where you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God.
Wow. That's intense.
It goes on. Where you die, I will die, and that is where I will be buried.
That's not just affection. That's a total commitment.
It's a profound vow. She's not just sticking with Naomi. She's completely embracing a new people, the Israelites, and a new God, Jehovah, leaving everything she knows behind.
Despite the hardship, the uncertainty. Being a foreigner, a widow.
Exactly. It's radical devotion, self-sacrifice, choosing loyalty and faith over safety and familiarity.
What does that tell us about real loyalty?
Maybe that it's not about convenience, it's about commitment even when it's hard, uncertain, maybe even risky. It challenges that idea of just looking out for number one.
And this incredible loyalty sets up the next part of the story.
Yes, this beautiful story of providence and connection. Naomi and Ruth arrive in Bethlehem. Ruth, being industrious, immediately goes to work gleaning barley in the fields during harvest.
Just trying to survive, provide for them both.
Right, and the owner of the field she happens to be working in is a man named Boaz.
Okay, enter Boaz. He's significant.
Very. He's wealthy, respected, and here's a fascinating detail connecting back to earlier stories.
What is it?
Our sources reveal Boaz is the son of Rahab of Jericho.
Rahab, the woman who helped Joshua's spies.
The very same. A Canaanite woman integrated into Israel, whose son now plays this key role generations later. It weaves these threads together beautifully.
That is a surprising connection. So what about Boaz's character?
He's portrayed as a man of integrity. He'd heard about Ruth, her kindness to Naomi, her loyalty, leaving her homeland.
So her reputation preceded her.
It did. And he recognizes her virtue. He tells her Jehovah will bless her for it. He ensures she's safe in his fields, tells his workers to leave extra grain for her. There's this mutual respect, this growing affection based on character.
It's more than just attraction. It's based on integrity.
Absolutely. And think about the social implications here.
A Moabite woman. Foreigners weren't always welcomed, right?
Especially Moabites, there was historical tension. Yet Ruth, because of her character, her loyalty, her embrace of their faith, is not just accepted but honored. She marries Boaz, this prominent man.
It's a story of integration, acceptance based on merit, not origin.
Exactly. And this personal story, this seemingly small tale of loyalty and kindness, it has huge historical consequences.
How so?
Ruth and Boaz have a son named Obed,
Okay.
and Obed becomes the grandfather of King David.
Get out. Really? So Ruth, the foreigner who showed incredible loyalty,
Is the great-grandmother of Israel's greatest king. It directly connects her personal virtue to the royal lineage.
that's an amazing aha moment.
Yeah.
Small acts of kindness, loyalty. They ripple through generations.
It shows how seemingly minor personal stories are vital threads in the grand historical tapestry. Every act of integrity matters.
A powerful reminder not to underestimate the impact of our own choices.
Yeah.
Okay, from quiet loyalty to something completely different.
Yeah, a complete shift to the legendary, almost superhuman strength of Samson.
The strong man. This story is about strength, betrayal, redemption. It's epic.
It really is. Samson is unique. His incredible strength, the sources say, comes from his status as a Nazirite.
A special vow to God.
Right. Part of that vow, crucially for Samson, was that his hair was never to be cut. It was the visible sign of his vow and the source of his divinely given strength. Lose the hair, lose the strength.
So the secret isn't muscles, it's the hair tied to the vow.
Exactly, which makes the betrayal so central. The Philistine leaders, Samson's main enemies, are desperate to neutralize him.
He was causing them a lot of trouble, right?
Constantly. So they approach Delilah, a woman Samson is involved with, and offer her a massive bribe.
How much?
Each leader offers 1,100 pieces of silver if she can find out the secret to his strength. That's a fortune. Shows how much they feared him.
And Delilah agrees.
Yes. And the sources describe this manipulative process. She repeatedly asks him, nags him, wears him down.
Doesn't he lie to her at first?
He does, tells her it's new bowstrings, then new ropes, then weaving his hair, trying to mislead her.
But she keeps pushing.
Relentlessly, until finally, worn down, maybe complacent, he tells her the truth about his Nazirite vow and his hair while he's asleep on her lap. She calls in a man to cut his hair, and the text says the moment it's cut, he has lost his strength.
Just like that. Undone not by an army, but by revealing his secret, breaking his vow through this relationship.
It's tragic. Such power undone by personal weakness, temptation, maybe misplaced trust.
What does that tell us? Even the strongest have vulnerabilities.
Absolutely. Hidden weaknesses, the power of temptation, maybe letting your guard down emotionally. It shows strength isn't just physical. It's also about integrity, guarding yourself.
Your greatest gift can become your greatest weakness if you're not careful.
That seems to be a key lesson here. And the consequences are immediate and brutal.
What do the Philistines do?
They capture him easily now, and they put out his eyes.
Oh, that's horrific. Blinding him.
A terrible way to incapacitate and humiliate him. Then they make him their slave, grinding grain in prison. A complete fall from grace. From mighty judge to blinded slave.
So they think they've totally defeated him.
They do. They throw this huge party to celebrate, worshiping their god Dagon, thanking him for delivering Samson into their hands.
And they bring Samson out.
Yeah, to make fun of him. Public humiliation. Put him on display in the temple of Dagon.
But there's a twist coming, isn't there? A detail about his hair.
Yes, a crucial detail. The sources quietly note, in the meantime, Samson's hair has grown again.
So the physical sign of the vow is back? Does that mean the strength could return?
It implies the potential is there. It sets the stage for one last desperate act.
What does he do?
He asks the boy guiding him to let him feel the main pillars supporting the temple roof. The place is packed, thousands of Philistines celebrating, including all their leaders.
Okay.
Then he prays. A final, desperate prayer to Jehovah for strength, only this once.
For revenge or redemption?
Maybe both. He asks to avenge himself for his 2 eyes. Then he pushes against the 2 central pillars with all his might. The building collapses. It falls down, killing everyone inside, including Samson himself. The sources say he killed more Philistines in his death than he did in his entire life. Around 3,000 people.
Wow. A final act of devastating strength. It raises questions, though. What is true strength? Physical power, conviction, divine connection.
It's complex, isn't it? His story is full of human failing, betrayal, terrible consequences, but also this final, self-sacrificial act that achieves a massive victory, albeit at the cost of his own life. A tragic form of redemption, perhaps.
It leaves you thinking about the relationship between human choice, divine power, and the consequences. Okay, moving from these powerful, often flawed individuals.
We see a major shift happening in Israel's history.
The dawn of kingship, moving from judges to monarchs.
And the bridge between these eras is the figure of Samuel, a child dedicated to service who becomes a powerful prophet.
His story starts before he's even born, right? With his mother, Hannah.
Yes. Hannah was heartbroken because she couldn't have children, which was a source of great shame and sorrow back then.
So she prays.
Fervently. At the tabernacle, the center of worship. She makes a vow to Jehovah. If you give me a son, I promise that I will give him to Jehovah to serve him all his life.
And her prayer is answered.
Yes, she has Samuel. And true to her word, when he's very young, maybe just weaned, she brings him to the tabernacle to live and serve there.
That must have been incredibly hard for her to give up her child.
Unimaginably hard. But she fulfills her vow. Samuel grows up serving under the high priest, Eli.
But Eli has problems, doesn't he? His sons.
Big problems. Hophni and Phinehas. The sources call them bad sons. They're corrupt, abusing their priestly position, taking the best parts of sacrifices, behaving immorally.
And Eli doesn't stop them?
He knows about it, but he fails to discipline them effectively. A real failure of leadership, both as a priest and a father.
So you have this contrast. The corrupt, adult leaders
Yeah.
and this young, dedicated boy, Samuel.
Exactly. Which makes what happens next so significant.
Samuel's divine calling.
Yes. One night, Samuel's sleeping and he hears a voice call his name. Samuel. Samuel.
He thinks it's Eli.
He runs to Eli 3 times. Eli finally realizes, wait, this isn't me. This must be God.
So Eli tells him what to do.
Yeah, if he calls again, say, "Speak, Jehovah, for your servant is listening."
And God gives Samuel a message.
A heavy one, a prophecy about the punishment coming for Eli and his wicked sons because of their corruption, and Eli's failure to stop them.
Wow. A child chosen as a prophet, delivering judgment on the established leaders.
It's significant. It suggests divine favor isn't about age or status, but about a listening heart, integrity. God bypassing the corrupt adults and speaking to the pure-hearted child.
And the prophecy comes true.
Tragically, yes. Hophni and Phinehas die in battle against the Philistines. When Eli hears the news, plus news that the Ark of the Covenant was captured, he falls backward off his seat, breaks his neck, and dies.
A swift and devastating fulfillment.
It confirms Samuel's authority as a prophet. He grows up to be the last great judge of Israel, bridging the gap to the next era.
The era of kings. Which brings us to Saul.
Israel's first king, and his story is a real cautionary tale about disobedience.
Why did Israel want a king in the first place? Didn't they have God as their king?
They did. But they looked around at other nations, saw their human kings, and said, "We want one too. Someone to lead us in battle, judge us."
How did God react?
The sources say Jehovah was displeased they were rejecting his direct rule, but he told Samuel to grant their request after warning them what having a human king would entail: taxes, conscription, etc.
So Samuel anoints Saul, pours oil on his head.
Yes. And what's interesting is Saul's initial reaction. He's humble. He says something like, "But I'm from Benjamin, the smallest tribe."
He doesn't seem power hungry.
Not at all. The sources say Jehovah liked that about him. He doesn't pretend to be big and important. His humility was key to his selection.
Which is ironic given his appearance.
Exactly. Physically, he looked the part. The text says he was handsome, tall, literally head and shoulders above everyone else. Strong, fast, the perfect image of a king.
But God chose him for his initial inner quality, his humility.
Right. It emphasizes character over appearance again.
And Saul starts well, doesn't he?
Very well. He leads Israel to many victories against enemies like the Ammonites and Philistines. He's a capable military leader, often alongside his brave son Jonathan. Things look promising.
But then, the disobedience. What happened?
It seems to be a pattern. One key instance. Before a battle, he's supposed to wait for Samuel to arrive and offer a sacrifice. But Samuel is delayed, the troops are getting nervous, so Saul takes it upon himself to offer the sacrifice.
Usurping a priestly role out of impatience.
Exactly. Presumption, fear, overriding faith and obedience. Later, he's commanded to utterly destroy the Amalekites, including all their livestock, as a judgment.
But he doesn't fully obey.
No. He spares their king, Agag, and the best of the sheep and cattle, claiming he wanted to sacrifice them to Jehovah, but it was direct disobedience.
Choosing his own judgment over God's clear command.
Right. And Samuel confronts him, saying, "To obey is better than sacrifice." Because of this pattern, Jehovah rejects Saul as king.
It's a powerful story about leadership challenges. Even a chosen leader, starting well,
It can fall. It shows that line between initiative and obedience is crucial. Power requires constant humility and faithfulness. Otherwise, it corrupts.
a sobering lesson. So, Saul is rejected. Who's next?
Now we come to David, the shepherd king. Jehovah chooses him to replace Saul.
And this is where things get really interesting, challenging expectations again.
Totally. David isn't from royalty, not a military commander. He's a young shepherd from Bethlehem.
Bethlehem. And didn't you say he's related to Ruth and Boaz?
Yes, he's their grandson through Obed. That thread of loyalty and integrity from Ruth's story leads directly here. It's amazing.
And even as a shepherd, he showed bravery.
The sources mention him saving his flock from a lion and a bear, not just passively watching sheep, but actively protecting them, risking himself, shows courage and responsibility early on.
Okay, so Samuel is sent to find the new king in Bethlehem, at the house of Jesse, David's father.
Right, and Samuel, like anyone, looks at Jesse's older sons first. They're tall, impressive looking. Eliab, the eldest, walks in.
And Samuel thinks, this must be the guy.
Exactly. But Jehovah tells him very clearly, "Do not look at his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not see as man sees. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart."
Wow, that's a direct rebuke of judging by appearances. God's looking for inner character.
It's a central theme. So Samuel goes through 7 of Jesse's sons. None of them are the one.
He must be confused.
He asks Jesse, "Are these all your sons?" And Jesse says, almost as an afterthought, "Well, they're still the youngest, but he's out tending the sheep."
The overlooked one, the shepherd boy.
They send for David, and as soon as he arrives, Jehovah tells Samuel, "This is the one. Arise, anoint him."
So Samuel anoints David, this young shepherd, as the future king.
Right there in front of his brothers. It's a stunning moment.
What does David's selection teach us about leadership?
That it comes from unexpected places. It's not about the resume or the image. It's about the heart, character, potential God sees, even when hidden in obscurity. It challenges all our assumptions about who's fit to rule.
Character over charisma. Key insight.
Oh,
Okay, so David is anointed. Now let's look at the complexities of actually being king.
right. David's reign and then Solomon's. Success, failure, wisdom, consequences. It's all in there.
David's reign starts well in Jerusalem, right? Consolidating power.
Yes, the sources say Jehovah gives him many victories. He secures the kingdom. And he clearly loved Jehovah. He brings the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem, wants to build a great temple.
A strong start, unifying the kingdom, showing devotion. But then, the bad mistake.
A really bad mistake. A turning point. From his palace roof, he sees Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah, one of his loyal soldiers away at war.
And she's described as very beautiful.
Yes. David, driven by lust, abuses his power. He summons her, sleeps with her, and she gets pregnant.
While her husband is fighting David's war, that's terrible.
It is a profound moral failure, and then he tries to cover it up.
Ah.
He brings Uriah back from the front lines, hoping he'll sleep with Bathsheba, so everyone will think the baby is Uriah's.
Does Uriah go along with it?
No, Uriah is too honorable. He refuses to go home and enjoy comfort while his comrades are still fighting and the ark is in a tent. He sleeps outside the palace gate.
Wow. Uriah's loyalty highlights David's disloyalty.
Absolutely. So David's cover-up fails. He resorts to something much darker.
What does he do?
He sends Uriah back to the battle with a sealed order for the commander, Joab. The order: put Uriah in the fiercest part of the battle and then withdraw, leaving him to be killed.
He arranges his loyal soldier's murder to hide his own sin.
Yes. Uriah dies. David then marries Bathsheba. It seems like he got away with it.
But God sees everything.
Exactly. Jehovah is very angry. He sends the prophet Nathan to confront David.
How does Nathan do that? Confronting a king is dangerous.
He uses a brilliant parable about a rich man with many sheep who steals a poor man's single beloved lamb to feed a guest.
And David reacts.
David is outraged. He declares the rich man deserves to die.
And Nathan says,
"You are the man." He lays out David's sin, adultery, murder, deceit, and pronounces God's judgment. The sword will never depart from your house, meaning violence and trouble within his own family.
and the consequences start immediately.
Yes, the baby born to David and Bathsheba dies, but the prophecy of trouble in his house unfolds tragically over years.
Like what?
His son Amnon rapes his half-sister Tamar. Then Absalom, Tamar's brother and David's son, murders Amnon in revenge. Later, Absalom rebels against David himself. It's a cascade of sorrow and conflict stemming from that one initial sin.
It's a powerful illustration of how choices, especially by leaders, have massive ripple effects. The responsibilities and temptations of power.
And the inescapable consequences. Even for someone favored by God, personal failings can unravel families and nations.
A truly sobering part of the story. But there are also moments of wisdom and good choices,
Yep,
right?
exactly.
Like the story of Abigail.
Yes, a fantastic contrast. Abigail provides a moment of profound wisdom that prevents disaster.
Who is she?
She's married to a man named Nabal. He's very rich, thousands of sheep and goats, but the sources say he's mean, harsh, worthless. Abigail, on the other hand, is beautiful and has good understanding. She knows what's right.
So a wise woman married to a fool? What happens?
David and his men, while on the run from Saul, had been in Nabal's area and had actually protected Nabal's shepherds and flocks.
So Nabal owed David a favor.
You could say that. Later, during sheep shearing time, which was a time of feasting, David sends some men to politely ask Nabal for provisions, a reasonable request.
And Nabal.
He responds with insults, basically says, "Who is this David? Why should I give my food to runaway servants?" Complete ingratitude and contempt.
Oh, that would make David angry.
Furious. David immediately straps on his sword and sets out with 400 men, intending to kill Nabal and every male in his household that very night. He's acting out of wounded pride and anger.
Headed for bloodshed. But Abigail hears about it.
Yes, one of the servants tells her how foolishly Nabal acted and how David is coming. Abigail acts instantly.
What does she do?
She doesn't panic or wait for Nabal. She quickly gathers a huge amount of food, bread, wine, sheep, grain, cakes, loads it on donkeys, and rides out to intercept David.
Brave.
And smart, incredibly. She meets David, bows down low, takes full responsibility for her husband's offense, even though she did nothing wrong,
She humbles herself completely.
and gives this incredibly wise and diplomatic speech. She acknowledges David's future kingship, praises his righteousness, and basically says, don't spoil your record by shedding innocent blood now out of personal revenge. Let God handle Nabal.
She appeals to his higher calling, his better nature.
Perfectly. And David's reaction is immediate. He stops in his tracks.
He listens to her.
Completely. He praises her wisdom, thanks her for stopping him from committing a terrible act. Blessed be your discernment, and blessed be you who have kept me this day from blood guilt. He recognizes she saved him from himself.
Wow, the power of one wise person's intervention.
It's profound. She averted a massacre through courage, wisdom, and diplomacy.
What happens to Nabal?
The story says when Abigail tells him what happened, his heart died within him, maybe a stroke. He dies about 10 days later.
Divine justice, perhaps.
The narrative implies it. And after Nabal's death, David remembers Abigail's wisdom and character and sends for her, and she becomes one of his wives.
A remarkable story. It shows how wisdom and courage, even from someone seemingly powerless, can change everything.
A beautiful example of positive influence, contrasting sharply with David's earlier failure.
Okay, so after David comes his son Solomon, famous for wisdom.
Legendary wisdom. And his reign marks the absolute peak of the unified kingdom, but also sows the seeds for its decline.
How does he get this famous wisdom?
Early in his reign, Jehovah appears to him in a dream and says, basically, ask for whatever you want me to give you.
A blank check from God. What does Solomon ask for? Long life, riches, victory.
No! Amazingly, he asks for an understanding heart to judge your people, that I may discern between good and evil. He asks for wisdom to rule justly.
That's a very selfless and insightful request for a young king.
Jehovah is extremely pleased. Because he didn't ask for selfish things, God grants him not only unparalleled wisdom, but also the riches and honor he didn't ask for, far beyond any other king.
So his wise choice brought even greater blessing.
Exactly. And his wisdom is immediately put to the test.
The famous story of the two women and the baby.
That's the one. Two women lived together, both had babies around the same time. One baby dies in the night. Both women now claim the living baby is theirs.
A classic he said, she said situation. How do you prove it?
They argue fiercely before Solomon. His solution is shocking. He calls for a sword and says, cut the living child in two and give half to the one and half to the other.
What's a barbaric?
It seems so, but it's a psychological masterstroke. He's not intending to actually cut the baby. He's watching their reactions.
Oh, what happens?
The real mother cries out in anguish, oh, my lord, give her the living child and by no means kill it. She'd rather give up her son than see him harmed.
And the other woman?
She says coldly, let it be neither mine nor yours, but divide it. Her bitterness reveals her lack of true maternal love.
So Solomon instantly knows who the real mother is.
By her compassion, he awards her the baby. And the sources say all Israel heard about this judgment and held the king in awe, recognizing the wisdom of God was in him to administer justice.
It cemented his reputation, and his reign was prosperous.
Immensely, a golden age, peace, wealth, security, every man under his vine and under his fig tree, the saying goes. Plenty of food, fine houses, trade flourished. Israel reached its zenith under Solomon.
But it didn't last. Mentioned decline.
No, sadly. History rarely stays at the peak. After Solomon's death, and remember, Saul, David, and Solomon each ruled for about 40 years, a long time.
The kingdom splits.
Yes, it
Right.
fractures. Solomon himself later in life married many foreign wives for political alliances, and they led him into idolatry, turning his heart away from Jehovah. Plus, his massive building projects involve heavy taxes and forced labor, which created deep resentment among the people, especially the northern tribes.
So his own later choices contributed to the division.
Significantly. After he dies, the kingdom splits into two. The northern kingdom, Israel, 10 tribes, and the southern kingdom, Judah, 2 tribes.
And what happened to them?
Both kingdoms eventually fell due to continued disobedience, idolatry, and political strife. The northern kingdom lasted about 257 years before being conquered by Assyria. The southern kingdom lasted longer, about another 133 years, but was ultimately destroyed by Babylon and the people taken into exile.
So part 4 covers this whole arc. The rise under the first kings, the peak under Solomon, and the beginning of the fragmentation that leads to eventual decline and exile.
Exactly. It's a sweeping historical narrative. Solomon's wisdom brought unparalleled prosperity, but even that couldn't prevent the consequences of later poor choices and the forces leading to division.
It shows that even divine blessing doesn't negate human responsibility or the consequences of straying from founding principles. A complex picture of national rise and fall.
Very complex. It demonstrates how fragile even divinely established greatness can be when human choices go wrong.
Wow, what an incredible journey through these stories today. We've covered so much ground.
We really have, from Joshua's conquest and those
To
hailstones,
Gideon's 300 and the power of unconventional thinking.
and the profound loyalty of Ruth, shaping history in unexpected ways.
Then Samson's epic strength and tragic fall, yet final redemption.
Samuel bridging the eras, the rise and fall of Saul.
David's selection, his triumphs, his terrible mistakes, and the wisdom of Abigail stepping in.
And finally, Solomon, the height of wisdom and prosperity, but also the seeds of division.
These ancient stories, they're set in a very specific context, but the themes just resonate, don't they?
Absolutely. They offer timeless insights into human nature leadership in all its forms, the power of loyalty, the weight of consequences from betrayal or disobedience,
And where strength and wisdom come from often unexpected places.
and how individual choices really do ripple out, affecting families, nations, history itself.
As we've seen, history isn't simple, is it? It's this mix of incredible courage, deep wisdom, but also baffling mistakes and surprising turns.
A real tapestry woven with human action and maybe, as the story suggests, a higher purpose interacting with it all.
So maybe something for you, the listener, to think about. As you reflect on this deep dive, what unexpected insights or aha moments did you find hidden in these ancient narratives about power or character or consequence?
And how might those insights shape the way you look at the stories, big or small, unfolding around you today?